All right, folks, it's a Christmas edition of the Open Mic program here on the Sports Talk Nation. Glad you could join us here today, as we got a lot to talk about, a lot to digest here in the world of sports, as we're just a couple of days away from Christmas. And, of course, joining me today, and it's not the first time we've done the Christmas special with this guest, and that, of course, is Karen VanKat, who rejoins us. Karen, before we begin, I got one thing. I do have a Christmas theme that I do need to play here. Let me crank up this music again, get a little background here. All right, it's not going to jive too well, but hey, look, what's the difference? As we hear politicians say all the time, jingle bells, giant smell, Todd Bowles laid an egg. The Mets are owned by a cheap-ass crew, and the NFL hates America, hey. Dashing through the misery in Brian Cashman's $300 million mobile, laughing at Met fans, laughing all the way. Jingle bells, giant smell, Tom Bowles laid an egg. When will the Jets draft their quarterback? They never get it right. Oh, wait, they won too many games. Now the Giants get the Jets pick. Hey, jingle bells. Okay, that's enough of that.
That is funny.
There you go. That's
very funny.
That pretty much captures New York sports in just a single minute right
there. And we didn't even hit the Knicks, and that's all that nonsense, too.
At least the Knicks are playing good. I mean, they looked good last night anyway against the Celtics. That's something.
Yeah.
And plus the Devils are playing well. You got the Rangers. And the hockey's doing well. The hockey's doing very well.
Yeah, hockey's doing good. Even the Islanders, even though they've lost a couple, they're all there, all three teams.
All three teams are playing well. And the Islanders,
at least they're not an embarrassment like some other teams we know.
I can't imagine who. I cannot imagine who. I can't at all.
Oh, my God.
But we begin this Christmas special talking we're going to do a little bit of hot stove here, a little baseball action here for you folks. Of course, the Yankees have been the headline all offseason, and it's kind of bled into a lot of other things going around baseball, and kind of what's going on right now in New York. Now, we'll get to the Mets in a minute, and I got an epic rant coming on the Mets, but I just want to touch on the Yankees first and get you a chance to sound off on this. Giancarlo Stanton, of course, a couple weeks ago, comes over in the trade with the Marlins. $265 million the Yankees will absorb. And now the Yankees are in play to go out and get Gerrit Cole. Now, there was talk that they're going to include possibly a Clint Frazier, maybe Andujar, their top prospect at third base. To me, that's a lot to go out and get Gerrit Cole. I mean, Gerrit Cole's a good pitcher, but when I look at him and I look at his statistics, you know, he's 58 and 43 as a starting pitcher, a ERA near 4. Sounds a lot like Sonny Gray, who has very similar stats. They have brought back CeCe on a nice 1-year deal. They have a rotation that's pretty much set. I don't know if they need a Gerrit Cole. Now, you can never have enough starting pitching. I get that, but I don't know if I want to trade Andujar or Frazier for a Gerrit Cole. You know what I'm saying? That's the one thing that kind of hangs me up on this trade right now.
Well, I agree with you, and to be perfectly honest, this whole idea, I don't want to get rid of Clint Frazier. I know everybody says there's no room for him. This is what I'm doing, all right? Mm-hmm. Have you heard about the latest rumor with Ellsbury and the Giants?
I heard a little bit from you, but I haven't seen too much else other than what we talked about yesterday, just text message.
All right, well, John Heyman kind of brought it up, but this is my thing. If I'm Brian Cashman, I'm sitting Jacoby Ellsbury down. Right now, you're the fifth outfielder. You're going to get your money regardless, wherever you go. I want a list of teams that you want to go to. Now, let's say the Giants are in play, all right? They need a center fielder with that large center field, and he can still run, all right? He can't throw. He never was able to throw that well, but he still can run. He can still catch the ball. Mm-hmm. He can still steal your bases. He could still probably hit. If he played regularly, he probably could hit 260 to 280. He's going to steal your bases for sure. He'd be a decent leadoff hitter. This is what I'm selling to the Giants, and I'm telling them I'm going to pick up half of it. Mm-hmm. So in other words, you would only have to pay him $10 million a year. All right. Now, if you're going out into the free agent market for just some kind of outfielder, you're going to pay about that. You're going to pay about 10 or something in there. So I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to take half the money. I'm going to eat it, $30 million plus. You just pay $10 million a year. You take them off our hands. Mm-hmm. Give me a low-level prospect even. Mm-hmm. I want a pitcher, but I don't even want anybody from the main club. I would say give me one or two low-level prospects or a draft choice. That's what I would do to get him the hell out of here.
Yeah.
All right? Because Gardner is 37. This is his last year. You're not signing him next year. So what do you got? Stan, Judge, Hicks, and there's Clinton Frazier. And maybe Frazier, like Judge beat out Hicks, beats Hicks out for a center field position. You don't know. The kid's got so much upside between the bat speed, his speed just running the bases, his baseball IQ. I don't want to give him away because the outfield is going to eventually need someone like him.
Absolutely, and then you include Andahar in that trade as well, possibly him. I heard that's what I read earlier this morning. Now, right now, Andahar is penciled in as your starting third baseman until the Yankees go out there and re-sign Todd Frazier, which I think is going to happen very soon. I don't know when. Could happen after Christmas or before New Year's. We'll see, but I think he'll be the starting third baseman. Andahar is right now one of your top 5 prospects in the organization. I wouldn't trade him for a guy like Gerrit Cole. I wouldn't do it. Now, I agree with you. You give up Ellsbury to a team like San Francisco. San Francisco needs a center fielder. Where are they going to go with Greisko? I hope I pronounced this kid's name right. Greisko. Yeah, it's Hernandez. Greiskos Hernandez out there in center field. I mean, they got or Dyson for that matter. They got some outfield problems there outside of Hunter Pence. So they could definitely use some help there in the outfield. And look, I know Ellsbury's old, like you mentioned. He doesn't run as well anymore. Send him over to San Francisco. Let him play in that ballpark. He'll be a decent bat off the bench, or at least a nice option. Look, the Giants like to flex players in and out of their lineup anyway. It makes sense from that standpoint. But the Yankees, I just don't want to see them chip away at this great group, great core of young players they have coming up. Going out and getting Giancarlo Stanton, that was the one thing that worried me initially with the trade. I didn't want to see them throwing guys out the window and young guys. They didn't do that. That's what made that trade so good for the Yankees. But at the same time, don't chip away at some of the young talent that's on this team, because that's the talent that's going to keep this team moving forward beyond however long Giancarlo Stanton should be here, whether it be 2020 or 2028 for that matter.
And the Yankees aren't desperate.
Yeah.
Okay? They're not in desperate mode. There was years in the past they were desperate and they had no choice. Like when the desperate move was signing Chase Headley for a 5-year deal that time, which I thought was absurd at the time. But they were so desperate for a third baseman, they had nobody in the system. They didn't know what to do. They were like, before they even got started towards spring training, we're signing him again. Why? And that long? That was ridiculous. That was a desperate move. They don't have to be desperate. You've got Chance Adams. You've got Justice Sheffield. I know they're young. You haven't seen them up top too much yet. But, hey, look what happened with Montgomery. He really last year was his rookie year, kind of. He only, and look how he's adapted. He's probably going to do better this year, because you got to learn to be on the road. You got to learn the 162 games. You know what I mean? It's so different from the minor system. You got to give them a little chance. Same thing with Sonny Gray. Everybody, Sonny Gray. No, Sonny Gray is just like Didi was his first year. The transition to New York is tough. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care how much talent you have. Look how Didi's flourished now. Remember his first year? They were ready to run him out of town. Even Hicks. They made the trade. I was like, this Hicks stinks. But he had to make the transition to New York, and they did. All these guys, after their first taste of it, they make the transition. And I'm hoping Sonny Gray makes that transition now. He was halfway through the year. He was sent here. His family's on the coast. There's a lot of things. These guys aren't robots. They have families. They've got to make adjustments, too. Now, everybody starts fresh. You come in spring training. You've been with the team. You moved your family, whatever. Everybody's good. Okay, now let's get it together. And you're at peace of mind, all right? And then you start doing, your family's settled. Let's get to the baseball. You got to give them a chance. And I think the Yankees are not in a desperate position anymore. Jordan Montgomery, Luis Severino, Sonny Gray, Tanaka, Sabathia. Right there you got 5. Right there you got 5.
You got your 5.
Or whatever you think it. Right there.
Now,
you got Sheffield and Chance Adams in the wings. Do you want another front liner possibly to move Montgomery out of there and give him whatever it is, whatever you're thinking in your head? Yeah. But I'm not giving away Clint Frazier for Gerrit Cole.
Well, here's another thing. I'll flip this over on Montgomery. Do I want to, if I'm the Yankees, because we've seen them do this with Jabba Chamberlain. Now, I know there was a different circumstance because he was in the bullpen, they put him in rotation. But do you really want to mess with a young kid again? Jordan Montgomery showed a lot of promise last year. Do you want to, treat him like a yo-yo between going to the bullpen, and if he doesn't do well there, we're going to send him down to the minor leagues because we already have our 5 guys set, and we don't know where to put him. He has options. I really don't know if that's the right thing to do with this kind of kid. He showed, like I said, he showed a lot of good promise last year. I think this is a player you're going to leave in the rotation and just let him grow. And look, I don't see the Yankees going with a 6-man rotation. I don't see that at all, especially with veteran guys like Tanaka and Sabathia in the rotation. Usually these veteran guys don't like having that extra day of rest of a 6-day rotation. They'll be the first ones to admit that. So, to me, you have your rotation set. If I were the Yankees, I would go out there, maybe try to improve the bullpen. There are still some arms out there. Maybe not a lot of the top arms that have been out there at the start of this free agent frenzy, but there are a few guys out there like a Matt Albers. Let's see, I'm just going through the list here. A Matt Beisel, a Joaquin Benoit. I know these are not great names. I know these are not guys that are going to blow you out of the river, but these are decent guys you can bring in on a small contract. Just throw them in the bullpen and give yourself a little more depth. That's what I would do with the pitching if I'm the Yankees.
Oh, yeah, and I wouldn't, and really the bullpen. Think about who's in the bullpen right now.
Yeah.
You got Warren. You've got, remember Green.
Mm-hmm.
Green really was a starter. Worse comes to worse. You don't want to do, like you said, with Jabba and Phil Hughes, the back and forth. If you had to make Green a starter, he was a starter originally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but he's doing great in the bullpen. He's almost like, he's got closer stuff, the kid. So now you've got Warren, your long man. You've got Green, Canely, Robertson. Still Betances is there. You've got, what do you call it? Chapman. Those 6 guys are a great bullpen in themselves. Mm-hmm. You need one more arm, right? To carry, 7 in the bullpen or so? You need one more arm.
Right.
That's it. You've got a nice bullpen. Your starters, we said it, Severino, CeCe, Gray, Tanaka, Montgomery. Maybe you think, Montgomery, you know what? That was his first year. Just like Severino, remember that? When they brought him up? And then what happened to him? They said, we have to send him back down. He's not doing good. And Montgomery didn't really have a bad year. Montgomery did pretty well for them, considering. You've got a starting 5. It's not like you've got nothing there.
Yeah.
So why are you giving away Frazier or that Andujar when you think he's possibly going to be your third baseman of the future? He still needs to work at third. Clint Frazier, I hate giving him away.
Me too.
I really don't want to, because I could and suppose you have an injury in the outfield.
Now all of a sudden there's
one
need.
of them goes down.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden you have a need, and let's just say you do that. You get Ellsbury out of here, and you have Gardner, Hicks, Stanton, and Judge in your outfield, and one of them goes down. Now you're short a guy. Well, who are you going to go to? Well, the logical answer will be Frazier. If he's not there, well, then who? Right?
Well, they do have McKinney, who they put on the 40-man roster. McKinney is very good. He moved through the system quicker than people thought he was going to. He did great in the fall league. He's at AAA at Scranton. He would be your next option. But I still don't want to give Frazier away. I'm sorry. I think he brings too much energy. He's got a lot of skills. They said his upside is incredible. His bat speed's incredible, how he gets the balls that a lot of people wouldn't get to. I'm sorry. I'm not giving him away. You would have to give me even Clayton Kershaw, who's got injuries. I don't know for what pitcher. It would have to be a number 1 starter for me to give away Clint Frazier right now, because you know what's going to happen in the outfield. They need to be spelled. I'm not getting a DH if I'm the Yankees right now. I'm not investing in going and getting a DH, because guess what? Sanchez is definitely going to sit once a week, at least, in the DH spot, because he needs to get off his legs. Stanton and Judge, you're going to, after Judge had the surgery on his arm and blah, 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 Judge and Stanton, you want to free them up, give them a day here and there. So who's in your outfield if you're going to give one of them a spot at the DH?
And then And then you got the infield too. You got to throw Bird in there too, because if he can stay healthy, he's probably not going to play every day. You're going to want to give him a day off, and maybe even put Frazier there, or Todd Frazier if he comes back at first base. So you got a lot of options there in the DH spot.
Exactly. That's why I would not just go and sign like a DH guy.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it open. We go to spring training right now because you could always pick up a bat. You could always find some veteran. You could pick up a bat if you really wanted one. But I'm going to spring training, and I want to see what I have. But it's paramount, more than a pitcher, to get rid of Ellsbury. There's no two ways about it. And I would be man in the phones if I'm Cashman. I'm eating half the salary. Like I said, $10 million a year for an outfielder is not a big deal. Okay, that's what the other team would be paying. If they still think it's too much, all right, we'll take a little more. You pay him $8 million a year. I would go as low as $8 million a year for the other team to take, and I'd eat the rest of it because you're eating it anyway. You're eating it if he's sitting on your bench as a pinch hitter and not getting in there. So what's the difference? Where it is? Get him out of here.
I think the big hang-up for a lot of teams. And you said eat $10 million of it, so that's you're basically eating half of it per year. I mean, this is a guy who's going to make about $21 million, or at least is expected to make about $21 million until 2021 before he's a free agent. He'll be 38 years old by the time he's a free agent. So it's a really tough contract to sell, but there's got to be a team out there. And this is the thing: if they're not able to get this done now, my question is, do they get something done by spring training? Meaning sometime in February, sometime in March, certainly before the season starts. There's going to be an injury. There could be a trade made. There could be a move made by some team, and all of a sudden there's a available position out there in an outfield for some team that thinks it can contend this year, and then you can move a Jacoby Ellsbury and maybe not have to give up too much if you're the Yankees. So there's that thought process as well.
Ellsbury's not totally washed up.
Or get
Ellsbury still has his speed. He still could get to balls, and he could steal bases for you. So he's not a total wash-up at this point of his career. Unfortunately for him, he wasn't producing on a regular basis. Didn't he have a concussion again last year? I mean, something happened to him, I know, somewhere along the way. But it's not like he's a total albatross as far as talent. But in the Yankee lineup he is, because they're all better than him right now. You're going to sit Judge? No. You're going to sit Stanton? No. You can even Hicks, a switch hitter who's come on. He's only 26 years old, Hicks. We forget how young he is. Hicks? No. Gardner? There's times when Gardner needs to sit. He's shown his age as far as up at bat, because I don't know what he hit this year. Was it 250 even? I mean, he wasn't but he did a lot of other things.
Well, Gardner, of course, had that.
For them.
Gardner only hit 264 in the regular season. Now, he did hit a lot of home runs last year, and he had that great postseason, had that big hit in the playoffs against the Indians. But, he hit 264. He did well. I mean, he did. I thought he had a really good season for himself last year, and he's a valuable piece.
Right.
I mean, in a lot of ways, he and Ellsbury, I've always felt this way, are kind of the same player, just that Gardy has a little more pop in his bat and is a little more clutch than Ellsbury is. So it makes his value to this baseball team that much more valuable. And that's
exactly.
Yeah. Now, the one thing with Ellsbury that's a hang-up is going to be the fact that he has a no-trade clause. And they've got to find a team out there that he can waive that no-trade clause. Now, whether it's going to be with the Giants, is he willing to do that? Waive the no-trade clause to go to San Francisco? I haven't heard anything that leads me to think that he's going to waive that no-trade clause. He's been really stubborn about this, too. It seems like he just kind of...
I don't understand, because he's going to be on the bench.
I know.
And if he's thinking, well, I'm getting paid even just to sit here, you're going to get paid wherever you are. Nobody's taking away your money.
You know what he's thinking?
Nobody's taking away your money.
You know what he's thinking? He's thinking that he can get a free ride to a World Series. That's what it is. That's what he's thinking. He's thinking, I'm just going to sit here. He's going to sit here, collect a paycheck, come off the bench, maybe play a little bit, hit around 270, and win a World Series by. And that might be what his thinking is right now. It's crazy. You would think that a competitor like him would want to go out there and play every single day. I mean, certainly whether you can win a World Series or not.
I know. I wouldn't want to be. I don't know. If it was me, I wouldn't want to be sitting on a bench.
No, neither would I. But
I wouldn't want to be out there, or I'm going to retire. But of course, if you retire, you're going to give up your money. So he's not going to give up his money. But wherever he goes, he's still getting paid his money. It's not like the NFL or other, where when they trade you, or and maybe you're not getting the same contract or whatever the story is, but where they release you and you lose all your money. See, this is the problem in baseball with guaranteed contracts. It shouldn't be. I'm sorry, it just shouldn't be, because you're not performing. If you or I in our job, in our everyday life, we're not performing, are they going to release us, but you're still guaranteed your money?
Of course not. Of course not. You're gone. You're gone, so's your money, and that's the way it goes.
Exactly. And so Major League Baseball, this is,
hey, look,
this is what's happening.
Players Union did a great job. They really did in the last negotiation, making that happen. And that, I got to ask you this, because I know it's been a couple of weeks since since we last did this. But what are your initial thoughts here about Aaron Boone? Because to me, I got to see more. I got to see, obviously, a game situation. I got to see a game situation where I can really begin to get a better idea of what his philosophy is going to be, how he's going to maneuver a lineup. He's now got a lot of good pieces here, and he's now got a big time start here in Stanton. How he places him and Judge in the middle of this lineup. It may not seem like a big deal, but to these two guys who are going to hit a lot of home runs and get a lot of attention. To each one of them, it is a big deal, because if let's just say Judge hits in front of Stanton, well, Judge is going to have a better chance to get more RBIs than Stanton does. So it's all about juggling the personalities. Joe Girardi was so good at doing that with A-Rod and Giambi and obviously with Teixeira, Jeter, all these guys that are a part of that team over the years when Girardi was here. I said Giambi, I shouldn't have said that, but you get my point. Okay.
Yeah.
How's he going to manage these personalities?
Aaron Boone, I like it. Out of all the guys that interviewed, I've heard Aaron Boone. I know. They say he was an analyst, but so was everybody else.
So was
right?
Tito Francona.
Joe Girardi was a ball player. He went in the booth, and then he went to the Marlins. Okay, and then he went back in the booth, and then he came to the Yankees. So. Joe Torre, I know he was in a bunch of places where he failed as manager. He ended up in the booth for a while, and then he came down. One thing about being in the booth, not for anything, these are guys who played the game. Aaron Boone has been around the game since he was a kid. His father, his grandfather, you can't throw that away, because and I'm sure he's absorbed so much being around the game as much as he was. As a kid, growing up, then playing, then becoming a professional, and even afterwards. So, and he's watching, and he seems like very in tune to what's going on, the situation, different things. We can only give him a chance. I'm not going to say, I don't like it. I think his personality is good. It's a little different personality than Joe's. We'll see what happens, but I think the guy, he's going to gain the respect of the locker room just for the fact he played the game. These young guys are going to go, he's been there. All right, he's done this. And not only that, his pedigree. If they know anything, like I said, about his grandfather, his father, it's there. It's a baseball family from the time he was 3 years old. He's been around the game, and then he, like I said, he played it as a player, and I think he's going to be all right. Yes, you got to manage these guys. Judge doesn't seem like a big ego guy. I don't know. We don't know a lot about Stan. We know he was quiet. They said he wasn't always with the press, maybe the best. I don't know. But the one thing here, even though Stan's making the most money, Stan is not the only star on this team. Because the Yankee fans embraced Sanchez. They embraced Judge. They embraced Bird. Those are homegrown guys. And as a Yankee fan, they take precedent. No matter what. Say, remember when A-Rod came over?
Yes. Yeah.
It didn't matter. Jeter's the man, all right? And it doesn't matter that you brought Teixeira and A-Rod over. It didn't matter. Yes, they're good players and blah, 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 and the whole thing they add to the team. But who's our guy? Same thing with these fans. They're going to expect Stan to produce, don't get me wrong. But as far as him having all the pressure on him, it's not there. Because from the fan standpoint, they still want to see these kids do well. And they want to see them. These are Yankees. They're from, there's nothing better. And they've been craving, we've all been craving, bring up the kids. We've got them. We got Severino, we got Bird, we got Judge, we got Sanchez. If they keep Frazier on the rock, you got Frazier. I mean, you've got these homegrown talent, Chad Green, Adam Warren, even go back to Robinson, even though he left, he was a homegrown Yankee. He started in the system. Canely started in the system. Betances started in the system. How many Yankees on the roster? Gardner, go through the list. There's got to be at least 15 guys that started as a Yankee, in the system. That's what the Yankee fans crave, and Stanton's going to have pressure. I'm not going to say he's not, but there's other guys to pick it up.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is a loaded team, and you speak about guys who, of course, are homegrown. How about some of the guys that are not homegrown? And I'm talking about a guy like a Didi Gregorius who has been there. I mean, talk about a guy who's had to deal with so much pressure. Didi Gregorius comes into a situation where no one knows who he is. He's replacing a legend in Derek Jeter, and everyone's expecting him to be one of several guys to be the guy to replace Derek Jeter. Well, now he is the guy, and he is firmly entrenched as the guy at shortstop because of how well he has played and how focused he has been, and he's just become a part of this, and you almost forget very easily that he's not a original Yankee, that he was with the Diamondbacks before this. So
exactly.
I think he is going to be, Didi Gregorius is going to be huge to lean on. A lot of people talk about the relationship that Judge and Stanton are going to have, which is going to be kind of like a Jeter A-Rod kind of scenario. I hope it's not as hope it's a little more civil than Jeter A-Rod, but we'll see how that works out. But Gregorius is going to be the guy that Stanton's going to have to rely on to kind of get adjusted to New York. He's going to, in other words, Gregorius has to be Mark Teixeira. Okay, he has to be that guy that's going to welcome in all the guys in the new guys into the clubhouse, the new guys onto the team, and just get them acclimated to the city and get them acclimated to playing here and eliminate the pressure. Forget about the pressure because look, there are going to be games in September and October that Giancarlo Stanton has never played in. There's going to be an atmosphere in the stadium, both at Yankee Stadium, both in Boston, Baltimore, wherever they're going to be playing in that time of the year that he has never seen before. And you know what? There's going to be some pressure on him. He's going to strike out. He's going to have a bad at-bat. He's going to strike out with guys on base. And you know what? How's he going to deal with that? He's got to learn how to deal with that. And to rely on some of the guys that are already here and have had a little bit of success is going to be very, very important.
That's why I'm glad they re-signed Sabathia.
Yeah.
Because you cannot, I don't know how to put this, you cannot, as far as put a price, I guess, on how much he means in that clubhouse as a leader. No matter what he's doing on the mound, the younger players will gravitate to him, whether it's pitchers or non-pitchers. And that's important. So the veterans, as we call them, and there's not many now, but think about it. What do you got? Like you said, Didi's now, he's moved up as far as a veteran. He's been there now 3 years, right? I mean, it's 3 years since Jeter retired. You've got Sabathia, you've got Gardner. Austin Romine, even though he's a backup guy, he's a role model for these guys. I mean, he's been there a long time. He's another prospect. He's another one who came through the Yankee system. Even though he's a backup, if you hear him talk, he's very, he's like a leader. Every time I interview him, I'm very impressed with him. So you've got that, and now you got all these kids.
Yeah.
So they're going to rely, and Stanton, how old is Stanton? He's 28. He's young.
He's about 27, 28. I mean, he's still in the early part of he's still early in the prime of his career. He's just entering the prime of his career, for that matter. So, I mean, he's going to be here for a very long time. And I know he can opt out in 2020. I don't think that's going to. The only way he's going to opt out is if he does an A-Rod and decides, I'm going to opt out so the Yankees can pay me more money. That's the only way he's going to opt out.
The Yankees, I don't think would ever do that again.
Yeah,
they got burned. I don't think that Cashman would ever do that again. And everybody's going to say, well, we didn't get that World Series without A-Rod. You can't say that because you don't know what would have happened without him all year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe somebody else steps up. We don't know that because I hate when they say, "Oh, if you didn't have them, you don't know. Things would have been different." You can't say that. You can't just pull that out of the equation.
Everyone talks about A-Rod in that postseason. I have better. I mean, I know he had a pretty good game there in Philadelphia I think it was game 3 or 4. I don't remember which, but I know he had a big home run in one of the games in Philly. But what stands out to me from that series was Johnny Damon going absolutely crazy in Game 5, and then Hideki Matsui, of course, in Game 6. Last I checked, neither one of those two guys makes A-Rod's salary or even close to dating the kind of women A-Rod dates. But you know what I'm saying? Seriously.
Yes.
Seriously.
So I don't think I'm going to tell you right now. If the Yankees, it's going to be 18. If the Yankees win a World Series within these next 2 years, Stanton's not going anywhere.
No, of course not.
He's going to. There's nothing like winning in New York. I don't care. Of course, if you're a Yankee, even if it doesn't matter what team in New York you play for. If you win and you win big and you win it all, there's nothing like it. And you get a taste of that. Just like Jeter and all them, and they got in multiple years, you're going to want that. You're going to want that every year. You get a taste of it once, you're going to want to go back. And I'm sure, like someone who's Sabathia, who's won a World Series, could attest and tell them, and tell Stan, listen, there's nothing like it in the world.
Yeah.
So,
think about this for a second. Before we get to the Mets, think about this. The Yankees still have yet to go to a World Series in this decade. Now, we got 2 years left here, obviously. We expect them to go to a World Series. I think a lot of people expect them to go to a World Series within one of these 2 years. But up to this point, they have not gone to a World Series in this decade, and almost every decade before that, they have been to at least 1 or 2 World Series. So that's very interesting. That's going to be kind of interesting. A little fact that's going to be out there that's going to be mentioned as we move along into the season.
I'm sure it's going to be brought up.
Yeah. I expect that to be broken, of course, but still.
Yeah, but you got to remember the '80s were horrific.
Yes.
We went to 1 World Series in '81. We lost to the Dodgers, and that whole decade was absolutely horrible. I go back as far as late '60s that I remember because I was a kid and I was born in the '60s. But the late '60s, you start remembering things. 70s, it was horrible. The beginning of the 70s, absolutely retarded and horrible to watch. I can't, the players, if you name players, you would just want to vomit. Then 76, and we get swept by the Reds. And then we're like, and then we get the next 2 years, though. We win 77, 78. If Munson doesn't die in the plane crash, we may get 79. That killed that team. That ripped their heart out in 79, and they were done. They never bounced back. They never recovered from that, and they barely, I don't even know if they made the playoffs in 79. I'm not even sure. I forgot. But, and then the 90s, we know what happened there.
Yeah, the 79.
95, the Seattle, thing. We lose to them. They fire Showalter. And then 96, and then there it goes. It goes.
Takes off. And it's been nonstop ever since. It's just been like a freight train of success, for that matter, ever since. 79 Yankees went 89 and 71. They were in 4th in the NL East, or AL East. Okay. And, of course, back then there was no wild card, so they did not make the playoffs that year.
Right. See, they just, they ended up 4th. Going from World Series winners to 4th, and just the circumstance and what happened to them.
Now, we go from a team that has a chance to go to a World Series in 2018 to a team that has a chance to win maybe the World Series of poker. Actually, they wouldn't be good at that either. And that is the New York Metropolitans. Oh, where do I begin? Oh, my goodness. Where do I begin? Omar Minaya back, folks.
They signed Sandy to an extension.
Oh, my God. First of all, there are a couple things I just don't understand about this team. One, you give Sandy Alderson a contract extension, but you don't tell anybody how long the contract is. We don't know if it's a year. We don't know if it's 2 years. It could be 20 years. We don't know how long this contract is. That is insane. I've never heard that. We signed our general manager to a contract extension. How long? We don't want to tell you how long. He has a contract extension. That's ridiculous. And then they turn around the next day and they bring back Omar today. They bring him back as a scout, if you will, to try to improve the minor league system, which has really been decimated. Let's just be fair. It's really been decimated over the last couple of years under Alderson.
Right.
And it's kind of ironic because a lot of players that Alderson takes credit for bringing in were actually scouted by Omar Minaya. Matt Harvey and Jacob deGrom, all those guys. Those are all Omar's guys. And now, I would love to be a fly on the wall when Sandy Alderson and Omar Minaya are sitting sitting in the same office discussing things. I mean, I guess Omar's going to have a knife ready to stab Sammy Alderson in the back, take his job back. I mean, it's crazy.
It's absurd.
It's crazy.
Absurd. And not only that, I mean, I'm looking here what Manaea's done since when he left the Mets. He was Padres vice president of baseball operations. That's nothing to be proud of.
Yeah, the Padres did great last year. What do they win?
Haven't been good forever.
I mean, the Padres haven't been good since 1998. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, they've been terrible.
I mean, it's like crazy. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. The Wilpons don't know what they're doing.
No. And speaking of the Wilpons, now Fred Wilpon, Mr. Genius himself, I spend all this wonderful money and hoard it, apparently, who doesn't spend anything, gets upset at the Yankees, and the report was in the New York Post today that he gets upset that the Yankees have went out there and spent money and traded for Giancarlo Stanton, and of course will go out there and maybe even trade for Gerrit Cole for that matter as well. Here's the thing. If you are Fred Wilpon and you're that upset that the Yankees are doing their due diligence to improve their baseball team, why the hell are you doing absolutely nothing to improve your team? Now, I'm not sitting here that the Mets should have gone out there and gotten Giancarlo Stanton. That never would have happened. One, as bad as Derek Jeter has done, he's tried too hard to be like George Steinbrenner down there in Miami. No way is Derek Jeter going to trade the best player on his team in the division to the Mets. Two, Stanton had a no-trade clause. He wouldn't even want to come to the Mets at all. He had 4 teams he wanted, and the Yankees were one of them. And 3, the Mets were never going to pay Giancarlo Stanton anyway. So forget that. Why don't the Mets go out there and try to make a deal for Jason Kipnis? Go out there and sign a Brian Shaw, who used to pitch for Mickey Callaway in Cleveland. Go out there and improve this team. Show your fan base that you care. And then you have Steve Phillips running around saying, "Oh, the Wilpons care," and you have all these people that are coming out of the woodwork trying to defend the Wilpons. Enough already. Enough. Spend some money on this team. Show that you care about this team. I mean, the Bernie Madoff situation, the whole thing that brought them down a few years ago. And
yeah, but
that was years ago. That was years ago.
Yeah.
There's no excuse now. No excuse.
No.
Go out there and improve this baseball team because this is outrageous. This is New York. This is New York City. This isn't the Oakland A's. But that's what the Mets want to be. They want to be the Oakland A's of the East Coast. That's what it is. It drives me crazy.
No, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I mean, the whole thing. This is what they do, and this is a dig at the Mets by Hal Steinbrenner. He said they were interviewing him at the meetings, and he said what we try to do is he goes, they're going to be under payroll regardless. What everybody thinks, even with Giancarlo Stanton's contract, they're going to make their tax thing. But he says we put back into the team.
Exactly.
In other words, we make money, don't get us wrong, but we do put it back in the team. And you can't fault the Yankees for doing that.
No, you can't.
People can moan all they want. The rich get richer. I hear all this. Boy, when they got Giancarlo Stanton, talk radio exploded. And there's a lot of Met fans. And the Met fans were moaning, oh, you just get richer. You get, they go out and buy. First of all, they didn't buy Stanton. They traded for him. They didn't give him this contract. Yeah, they're going to have to pay on it, but they made a trade. Okay, that's number one. All these kids they got playing for them are from their farm system. Okay, and they worked. Give Cashman credit. Made the trades. Remember the Andrew Miller deal, the Chapman deal, getting some of these guys. And even prior to that, deals he's made to bolster this farm system that was decimated over the years, okay? Now they've got like the number 2 farm system in baseball. So as far as the rich getting richer, yes, however, they're working. Cashman's working. He's working with the Steinbrenners. They're putting the money back in the team. Don't knock them. Don't knock them for doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do, is make the team better and go for championships. Everybody's like moans and moans and moans, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're not gutting the team like the Marlins. They're not doing, Pittsburgh's probably at that point too. They're going to start gutting their team. The Mets never put money in their team.
No. Never. And when they do put money in the team, it's always on a bad contract, the contract that they can't get themselves out of. Look at the David Wright contract. I mean, how much do you think they're kicking themselves and giving David Wright basically a fortune? I mean, he's still owed $47 million over the next 3 years. And the guy, I don't know if you've seen pictures of him, and, hopefully, there's nothing against David Wright. I hope he's healthy. I hope he gets better. Please retire, because if you've seen pictures of him, he is so gaunt. He's so skinny. He's lost so much weight. There's no reason for him to keep playing baseball, and he's basically taking $47 million away from the Mets over the next 3 years. I know there's insurance. I understand it's covered as well, but that's a big problem. They always put themselves on the hook for bad contracts. They never spend wisely. And you mentioned the Giancarlo Stanton trade and Met fans getting upset. Like I said, if the Mets have a realistic shot at Giancarlo Stanton, no. They had no shot at Giancarlo Stanton. Did I, as a Met fan, want them to go out and get Giancarlo Stanton? No, because there's no reason to do that for a team that has all these bad contracts as it is, and they have no real pieces to trade anyway. So it made no sense for them to go out there and get Stanton. Do I want them to get Jason Kipnis? Yeah. Do I want them to go out there and make a play for Mike Moustakas? Yeah. You know why? Because they can afford those guys. They can go out there and make those kind of those deals to bring in those guys to help this baseball team improve. But this ownership doesn't care. And I know that there are a lot of people who say, well, the Wilpons do care. They don't care. They really do not care about this about the Met fan. They think the Met fan is dumb. They think the Met fan is just a stubborn fan that just calls into red talk radio shows and complains. Well, there's a reason for that, because they just don't care. That was a rant.
Well, yeah. They definitely don't. They can say whatever they want. And like we've said in the past, the Madoff thing is in the past. It's in the rearview mirror. Mm-hmm. And they're making money, SNY. We could start going through all their things. You know this thing for the Islanders out in Belmont?
Yeah, the new stadium.
And the new stadium, and they're doing a shopping plaza and a hotel. Mm-hmm. Well, guess who's in on that? Who's building it? Guess.
Does it start with an M? And with
the Wilpons are in on that.
I know. The Mets.
All right? The Mets. The Wilpons are doing. All right? So you can't tell me. And how much money is that going to bring in? Mm-hmm. All right? Besides all their other ventures that they do. Don't tell us you don't have money. Mm-hmm. You've got it. You don't want to spend it on the Mets. That's the bottom line. You want to spend it elsewhere, like maybe other projects or whatever you're doing. And they're probably taking money from the Mets. Mm-hmm.
Probably.
And putting it into these other projects.
Probably.
So if you are owning a team, you have the responsibility to do the best you can. If you're going to do it on the cheap, all right, and all that, then don't own a team, because you can't. All right, this isn't 1950. Mm-hmm. This is 2017. We're talking franchises worth billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. That means the revenue you're getting from TV, the revenue you get from sales for merchandise. All right, let's go on and on with all that. Mm-hmm. I mean, the money coming in? Come on.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, really.
It's really ridiculous what they've done. It really is. I mean, this is not a small market team. This is a team that's been pretty successful over the last number of years. This isn't the Miami Marlins who have been building up teams, then destroy them, rinse repeat every 15 years. This is a team that's been to a World Series within the last couple of years. I mean, get healthy, get your pitchers healthy, retool, and try again. Instead, they're going now with this what sounds like to me a full rebuild to try to rebuild the minor league system. And I guess they're going to get rid of all these guys that they have on this team, starting with guys like Cespedes and Harvey, which I have no problem with, especially Harvey. But my God, I mean, you have two other pitchers here in Syndergaard and DeGrom who are fantastic. You're going to waste their prime of their years on bad baseball teams. You're going to be a 65-win team, and 30 of those wins come from two guys. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
No, and I don't know what the answer is, except them selling the team. But people say they're never going to sell the team.
No, they're not. They're not going to sell it. Maybe I think what Met fans need to do, have a full protest. Like you said, don't buy tickets, don't buy merchandise. If you do show up to Citi Field, wear the Mets, Mr. Met giving the middle finger T-shirt, or a T-shirt that says "Fred Wilpon sell the team." Because seriously,
or the opposing team's shirt.
Mm-hmm. Who was the guy? I don't know if you remember this guy. Who was the guy that was flying the planes over the Jets practice field, selling Fire Idzik? Maybe we should get him.
I forgot his name, but I know. Yeah, do that.
Yeah, exactly. Sell the team, Fred and Jeff. Sell the team immediately. fly a plane over Citi Field, blimp. Make a partnership with Goodyear Tire and get a big blimp and fly it over Citi Field. I don't know. Something.
I don't know. It's sad. So they extend the GM's contract, but they still don't have any players.
Nope, no players. They extend the GM. They bring in their old GM, and they still have no team.
They said that they had $10 million only to spend. What is going to be the total payroll?
Their payroll is going to be
$80 million. I mean, what is that?
It's going to be $1. It's going to be $10.15, but.
But it's going to be under $100 million. They're not even hitting $100 million.
Well, the reports
payroll.
The reports earlier said $135 million, but we'll see. I mean, the way they're going, it's going to be less than that. It's going to be way less than that. It's ridiculous. I mean, this is for a team that was in a World Series 2 years ago. I mean, this is outrageous. But this is what they do. It's rinse repeat. 2006, they should have won a World Series in 2006. They had the collapse in the next year, and they put all the blame on Willie Randolph for no reason, and then they blow the team up. Rinse, repeat. And now here we go again. Go to World Series. They lose the World Series to a very good Royals team, and now it's time to blow it up again. Rinse, repeat. They are the Florida Marlins of the North. That's what they are.
Well, currently they're ranked 18th in payroll, I guess. Mm-hmm. They're at $76,500,000. All right, so they're middle of the road as far as the payroll. But listen to the teams that are under them.
Sure.
Colorado Rockies.
Good team.
Of course.
Good team.
Minnesota Twins. No, Colorado's are above them by a couple of dollars. I'm sorry. Underneath the Mets, going 19 on. Twins, Pirates, Marlins, Cincinnati, Arizona.
Good team.
Baltimore, Milwaukee.
Better team.
San Diego, of course. San Diego, do you know what their payroll is? $26 million? That's like retarded. That's like AAA is there.
Giancarlo Stanton's making more. Giancarlo Stanton's making more money than the Padres.
Oakland. Oakland's the worst at $23 million.
Yeah.
So you got Oakland, Chicago White Sox, the Phillies. Mm-hmm. I mean, after the Mets, well, Baltimore right now, I'm surprised they're that low. I didn't know they were that low, too.
Yeah. It's really no competition. I mean, the Mets are one of the top. They're one of the top teams in payroll, and they don't act like it. And like I said earlier, they put the money. They invest money in bad investments, and that's their problem. It's been their problem forever. I mean, go back to Bobby Bonilla. I mean, they're still paying him pretty bad, and that's a shame because I want to see what this guy Mick Callaway can do. I think that he's going to be a good manager, but it's looking like a situation where Callaway may have to hope that he has a Tito Francona kind of career where if it doesn't work out in New York, that he gets another opportunity elsewhere and really shines. It's a shame. I'm saying that he doesn't even manage the game yet, but they really are putting him at a terrible disadvantage with a team that is not good at all. I mean, look, I understand if you want to change things up, if you want to rebuild, if you want to bring up young players, okay, you can understand that. But if you're not putting anything into the team and you're not giving your manager anything to work with, then what's the point? What's the point? Seriously.
No. You've got to give him the best possible team that you can put on the field so he can maneuver and do what he needs to do. Mm-hmm. And they're just not doing that right now.
Not at all.
I mean, they're just not doing it. I mean, they still have, you still got DeGrom, you still got Familia, you still got, but we don't know what's his name there coming back.
Syndergaard and Harvey.
Yeah. No, it's Syndergaard. I mean, Zach Wheeler, but he's always hurt too. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. I'm just looking at right now the roster as it's constructed. It's not. I don't know. And their bullpen stinks.
It's not great. It's not great. I mean, Blevins is a nice piece. I mean, if anyone's going to be a trade chip, it's going to be Blevins. Other than that, it's just terrible. It's just terrible.
I mean, I'm looking at it. I'm like, really? I mean, you can't get some guys off the pile or whatever.
Maybe Mickey Callaway has to activate himself and pitch out of the bullpen. God.
I don't know. Terrible. I just think, I don't know.
The New York I don't knows. We got the New York Yankees and the New York I don't knows.
I mean, we could be wrong. Remember, we thought that the Giants were going to a Super Bowl possibly. Mm-hmm. You know how that's blown up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we thought the Jets were not going to win a game, and they did. Mm-hmm. But the odds are the Yankees are going to tank unless they have a massive influx of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen.
No. You mentioned the Giants, and let's just jump really quickly over there to the Giants. They're interviewing for these GM candidates now. I'll be honest with you, and maybe they'll be kind of shocking to you. I actually heard Mike Francesa yesterday. What? I heard his show. Yes, I know he's not on the air anymore at WFAN, but he was on a podcast on YouTube, Bill Simmons' podcast, and he said that the Giants are leaning very strongly towards bringing in Gettleman. I know they interviewed this guy from ESPN, Louis Riddick, who wants to bring in Josh McDaniels,
Right.
which is an absolute joke in and of itself. But they're leaning hard towards Gettleman because these guys been there already, and that they want to. This is from Francesa. This is not from me. That they want to bring him in, and then Eli's going to be the quarterback, and that they're going to draft offensive line in the first round instead of the quarterback. Now, I could be completely wrong. That's what I heard on the podcast there. So don't blame me if I'm wrong, everybody. Don't come after me. Don't. But that's the hot rumor right now.
Yeah, I heard that today. They also did Abrams. They interviewed him, but we'll see what happens. They wanted to have this done before Christmas, which obviously it's not happening.
Right.
I would think. As far as having a GM in place. I heard about Riddick. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear about who's the Gettleman.
Yeah,
did you say?
Gettleman. He was the general manager of the Panthers. Before that, he was the pro personnel executive with the Giants for a very long time. Actually, he was there for the 2 Super Bowls they just won. So he's been with the team for a while until recently with Carolina. So he's the odds-on favorite. Riddick, of course, is another guy they're considering. They're also considering the guy who's the interim, Kevin Abrams. So we'll see. But my guess is they bring in Gettleman. I don't know who the head coach would be. I mean, it could be Mike Smith. I hope it's not. I really hope for you guys it's not Josh McDaniels. I mean, that's like going from Ray Handley to Rich Kotite. That is terrible if you go to Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels is a offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And that's it. Some of these guys have shown they cannot be a head coach.
Yeah.
And I think he's just an offensive coordinator.
I would agree with you there. So I don't know who their coach would be, but I just thought that the interesting thing was that what they do with Eli. Now, to me, he has had no support this year. We've talked about that in the past. He's had no support this year from the offensive line to the receivers, all the guys that have been injured. It's such a delicate situation. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. I think that going with the offensive lineman would probably be the safest bet because you just don't know with these young quarterbacks coming out of the draft. You never know. You could end up with a Peyton Manning coming out, or you can end up with a Ryan Leaf. We talk about that every single year. And is Eli really done? I mean, did the Giants really want to move from Eli? Is it a sure bet that he's going to go to the Jaguars, especially with Blake Bortles playing well down there? I don't know. So that's why I think Eli's status is still very much up in the air.
I think so too, and I think I don't know about these quarterbacks now yet.
Yeah.
One of them they said may stay.
Darnold, yeah.
Yeah. So they need offensive linemen. I don't care. You can draft Peyton Manning or Tom Brady with this offensive line. They're not doing anything. They're going to get injured. They're trying to learn. A new kid coming in, a rookie, is trying to learn, and he can't think straight or read the defenses. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have time because the offensive line is just a Swiss cheese. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got to do offensive line. You've ignored it long enough. I don't like, they interviewed Abrams, who was the assistant to, what's his name there? The one they just fired.
Jerry Reese.
Right. And I wouldn't go that route. I think you need to change things up. I think you need to go outside the organization and give it a new look. Because remember, of course, he left. You moved Reese in. Reese was lucky enough to get a couple of Super Bowls, or the one Super Bowl, whatever. Or the two he got, but
yes,
I don't think it was all because of him. There was the first Super Bowl. Of course, he had people in place already. So. And now you got Abrams, who was under Reese. Mm-hmm. Don't you want to change it?
I would.
The philosophy, the thinking?
I would definitely change it up and just try to just get some new blood in there. Get some get someone who is just. I don't want to say young. Doesn't necessarily need to be somebody who's young, but just get somebody who's just going to take full control of the franchise. Comes in there, who the boss is. You know where the buck stops with. And that's what the Giants need right now. I mean, look at. I'll bring up even Jacksonville again. Look what Coughlin did in just 1 year in Jacksonville. He comes in there. He knows he's the boss. Everyone knows who the boss is. It's Tom Coughlin, and boom, that team's turned it around, and they're now going to the playoffs. Could be a number 2 seed if they get another loss by either Pittsburgh or New England in the next couple of weeks. So that team turned it around quick. You need someone who's been in the game, who knows knows the game very well, and when he comes in is the man. Period.
Right.
That's what they need.
And I think that the Panther GM is a good idea because he built the Panthers.
Yep.
They got a lot of good people over the years.
I mean, that team went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago now. So we'll see what the Giants do. I mean, I don't think Steve Spagnuolo is going to be the answer here. Whether he stays the defensive coordinator or not, I have no idea. I mean, that's dependent upon who the next head coach is. But as far as him being a head coach, not going to happen. I will say this: I think the Giants have played harder in the last 2 weeks than they did all season. They could have easily won these 2 games that they just lost to Philadelphia and Dallas. I mean, they were tied going into the fourth quarter against Dallas at 10. And then they just imploded after that with the bad turnovers and the big mistakes. And Philadelphia, they had the game. I know they had the block punt and the block kick and then the block field goal, but to me the game kind of turned around on that interception by Eli when they were up 21-7, and then the Philadelphia scored a touchdown after that and make it 21-14. That's when the game kind of flipped to me. But they've had chances in these last 2 games to come out with wins. And I know it's going to hurt their draft position, but if I'm a Giants fan, I want to see the team win these last 2 games. I want to see them go out there and beat Arizona and Washington. I don't want to see this team finish 2-14 if I'm a Giants fan.
You never want to tank.
No.
I don't believe in that. So we just got to see what they have left. I mean, they've said now the last couple of games they've had to use a scorecard to figure out who's on the field. I mean, that's where they're at as far as injuries. So I think Spagnuolo, considering, has done a decent job considering what you've got in the field. And you're right, they played hard for him. I would really like to see him stay as defensive coordinator. I know they had issues with a couple of the defensive players. I think that was all McAdoo. It was all against McAdoo. And their uprising and their whatever you want to call it, whatever happened with those guys. But I think it has to do with that, McAdoo when he was the head coach. So, because Spags is a good defensive coordinator. He's got a lot of schemes. He uses his personnel the way he's supposed to. Definitely, they got to get rid of Quinn, who's the special teams guy. I've wanted him gone for years. I've never thought that the special teams have ever played up to their full potential, and there's always something wrong. And I just, they need definitely a new a new special teams coach. And now as far as offense, I don't know. If you're staying with Eli, he's 30, are you going to bring in a whole new offense?
That's going to be a big question. That's a big question. That's a great point, because if they bring in a new offensive coordinator in here and a new head coach who's an offensive coach, that's a new system that Eli has to learn. Do they really want to do that with him at 30? That's going to be the deciding factor in what they do in the draft. And if they bring in a guy in here who's not going to change things too dramatically, I'm not saying they're going to get rid of Sullivan or not, but who's not going to shake things up too much, that may decide what they want to do on draft day, right there.
Right.
And as far as the Jets, Todd Bowles' watch continues, at least for some of us who are still holding out hope that the Jets can change the culture there. That's such a weird team. I mean, they play well, they play hard for him, but at the same time, they still got a lot.
1 week.
1 week they play hard, 1 week they don't. 1 week they play hard, 1 week they don't. Muhammad Wilkerson wants out. I mean, they're a weird team. They really are. I can't figure them out.
I mean, are they giving him an extension? I'm asking you as a Jet fan.
They have not. They have not given it, not officially. Do I think they will? My gut tells me they will. My gut tells me they will.
And how many years?
I'm going to say another year. He already has a year left on his contract, so it's basically like a 2-year extension. That's what they're going to.
Okay. So he does have. I thought this was it. No, he's got 1 more year.
Yeah.
on the current contract.
Yeah,
why then even give it an extension?
Because who knows? I guess because
you've got a year. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what it is? Because no one likes to have a lame duck coach. That's what it is. We see it all. Even remember with Terry Collins with the Mets when they never wanted him to be a lame duck, so they always gave him like an extra year on top of the year that he had. That's kind of what they do. That's my feeling what they may do here with Bowles. But honestly, for me, I would just move on from him and McCagnon and just clean house and start over. I know a lot of people don't like that. You want to have some continuity, but enough's enough. I mean, from all the bungled draft picks they've had, and they've bungled the quarterback position. I mean, the 3 years they've had two quarterbacks who are about a combined age of 127 years old. I mean, enough already. I mean, seriously, enough. Give me a break. Enough.
Sometimes you just got to gut it. Just gut it and start over.
You got to start over. So that's the state of New York football. And of course, as we said at the beginning of the show, it's much better if you're doing basketball or hockey. But we could do that another time. But Devils are playing well, Islanders playing well, Rangers playing well. It's all good. So I got to ask you before we close this out: Christmas is here, my friend. How do you feel about that? What do you got coming up?
Christmas Eve, we're going by relatives' house.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Day, we usually go to relatives' house Christmas Eve and Day. But this year, Christmas Day, staying home.
Good
and
deal.
I'm glad because it's supposed to be snowy and sleety and not nice.
Yeah.
So gonna stay home for Christmas Day. I just wrapped today. Do you know it took me like 4 flipping hours?
Wow, 4 hours
wrap
of
everything.
4
and
hours.
I only have so many people, but it's like I don't know. It's just crazy. Like the paper, and then one time it ripped when I'm because I'm the best rapper anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it took like forever to get it done, and I was like, "Oh, I'm tired."
That's weird.
Stuff.
I mean, I the weather anyway. Like I just don't know if it's going to rain or not. But I understand. I understand where you're coming from with the wrapping. I wrapped my gifts yesterday. Now the thing with me is, like I'll wrap a gift, and then all of a sudden I have excess. You know how sometimes you wrap the gift and you have excess coming out. When you're trying to do the fold and everything. I always end up with excess.
And then
That drives me crazy.
And then it
drives me crazy. And then
I know. And I had all odd-shaped things besides just regular boxes with some, clothes, which are easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Those boxes are easy. But it's all the odd-shaped things.
Yeah.
I have one with a candle. One was another box that was a weird kind of shape. And I'm like, oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gets you. You use more paper.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to get it right. And, I'm not a professional in that area.
No, neither am I.
Not a professional rapper.
We are professionals in doing this. That is for sure. We are very good at doing this. That we do know. But I do want to say this, folks, as we close out this show here for today. I do want to wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas. I want to wish you, Karen, a very Merry Christmas, and everybody enjoy the holiday. Enjoy the next couple of days off. Hopefully, it doesn't snow too much. And if you're going out there on Christmas Eve to get that last-minute gift, good luck because you're going to need it.
Yeah, and 99 days till spring training.
Is that all? Just 99 days, folks. We're down to double digits. All right. Folks, everyone have a Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Open Mic program.